Shane's my trusty helper this morning. Anybody need a blue outline for today, let me know. I'll get it to you. Everybody looks like they got one. All right, so today is Patriot Church 1.5. This is our 5th Patriot Church since we started back in September. Try to do it once a month. And all you guys listening this morning, I see all those green lights popping up this morning. We will come to you for Patriot Church. We will come to you to help you learn and we can teach you what the Constitution says with our Constitution Live series.
Right.
So we're getting ready to hit the road as well with that too. So if anybody needs us to come to a small group or a gathering or another church, hey, we will come and be with you.
Awesome.
So praise the Lord.
Yep, praise
This morning's title is Call of Duty. Some of you guys know what Call of Duty is, right? Yeah, I bet you do. Up late last night playing Call of Duty, weren't you? I know what you're doing. Call of Duty. Well, we have a Call of Duty as patriots, as Americans, as Christians. We have a call.
That's right.
Call of Duty. And I was watching one of my favorite patriotic Christian movies, Gladiator.
All right.
Yeah, my old Gladiator movie, and I have a picture, but I forgot to get it this morning to show you up there.
Gladiator.
But there's a great quote in that movie that just, when I first heard it, just kind of gripped me. And it's there in your paper. Here's the maxim, here's the spiritual truth this morning, which we want to take and apply to our lives. Do you realize that what we do in life echoes in eternity? What we do in life echoes in eternity. We're thinking about what the founding fathers did. And think how all those things that they did is now how it echoes. The sound keeps on ringing. Freedom rings, right? Sound and how that continues to ring out throughout history. And how it continues to ring out through eternity. So that's kind of exciting to think about that. And it's kind of, makes you kind of stop and wonder, right? If everything we say and do could somehow echo in eternity. It's kind of like that study we did, remember, on sound we did a while back. It's like you say something, and what you say never goes away. Sound continues. It goes, and it goes, and it goes, and it just keeps reverberating, and like a ripple effect, right? It keeps going out throughout. The sound just continues to go. And so think about that, how we used to talk about everything we say, everything we think, everything we do as a prayer. As a prayer, how it comes out. And we speak it or we think it. So the same thing holds true this morning with this idea of what we do in life, our call of duty. What we do in life echoes in eternity. So if we could think about that, that may change some of the things we say and do, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
If you knew that your actions would echo throughout eternity. So I want to look at that this morning, this idea of duty. I was thinking scripturally how that ties in, of course, and it was some of the things we looked at in Timothy a while back. But remember what Paul said in Timothy? When he said things like, preach the word, be ready in season and out of season. Remember that? We talked about that in 2 Timothy chapter 4. That idea of being ready in season, be ready. This idea of your call of duty. What is duty? What is duty this morning? Think about that. What do you think duty is? I got a bunch of notes here for you. And it's all written out for you, so we'll just kind of follow along this morning. Good old Noah Webster, I love his 1828 dictionary because it really tells you all about it. A couple things he said. He said, duty is that which a person owes to another. You know, your duty. That which a person is bound by any natural, moral, or legal obligation to pay, do, or perform. Your duty. Also, it's a forbearance of that which is forbid by morality, law, justice, or propriety. Now, I thought that was kind of interesting. Looking at it of what not to do. Your duty not to sin, right? Your duty not to do evil to others, right? That kind of duty. Your duty not to for your forbearance that you would forbid. That what is forbid by morality, to your duty not to do what is wrong, but your duty to do what is right. Isn't that an interesting thing? And how have we seen that lately in our news, right? In our world. People have had a duty to do what's wrong. People have had a duty to lie.
Wow.
To sow discord. In our own government we see that. And it's sad to see that.
Yes.
But it needs to change. And it's going to change because we the people.
That's right.
Right? Because of we the people. will change. So that idea of duty. What else? Duty is also an obedience, a submission. Duty is an act of reverence or respect. And notice that, hey, it's your duty to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself, right? Your duty. And of course, the duty, like in the military mindset, the business of a soldier or Marine on guard, that's their duty. I was going through the closet, you know how my wife likes me to go through the closet. She says, if I buy something new, I got to throw away like 100 things, right?
Wow.
So I found an old soccer jersey a while back, and I posted it on Facebook. Well, as I found that soccer jersey, I also found another really cool, some memorabilia, right? It's a classic. It's a masterpiece, you know. And it was my old Cub Scout uniform.
Wow.
With all those badges. Troop 333, baby, right?
Whoa.
And I got to thinking about how Paul told Timothy to be ready. And the motto for a good old Boy Scout is be prepared. Anybody a Boy Scout? Was a Boy Scout or a Brownie? Boy Scout, yeah. Yeah, so you know it. You said it before I heard you say it. Be prepared. And remember the oath or the pledge, right? They say, on my honor, I will do my best to what? To do my duty.
To
right?
God
to do
and my country.
Duty. To God and my country.
Keep myself physically fit,
Yeah.
mentally awake, and morally straight.
Yeah, see that? How that's just ingrained in
It
you.
sticks.
Yeah, it sticks, doesn't it? Think about that as a kid. Maybe not going to church so much, or maybe just not knowing a lot, but how some of this truth was sewed into my life.
Whoa.
To obey the scout law, to help other people at all times, and to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
That's correct.
We got some crooked morals going around right now, don't we? And now, unfortunately, and here's what's interesting. I couldn't find where I saw, but there was a court decision maybe 10 years ago that the court found for the Boy Scouts that they could decide whether or not someone could be a part of their group, whether or not they said the oath. If you chose not to say the oath, they didn't have to take you in. That was just like a mere 10 years ago. But now, something happened. And the Boy Scouts went sideways. We got to pray for the Boy Scouts. But there's a Christian group that's come up. You heard of them? Anybody heard? USA Trail? Anybody know the name of it? It's a scouting group for Christian base as well. But anyway, but look at those words. Mentally awake, morally straight, physically strong.
Yeah.
I love what George Washington said back in the day. He said, it is the duty of all nations to acknowledge the providence of God.
Wow.
Is that happening today? Some find it their duty to denounce God. Some are finding it their duty to tear up the Constitution. Some are finding their duty just to speak and write this fake news that we've heard so much about the last couple of years. The duty. It's our duty, President Washington said, to acknowledge the providence of God. And in that idea of duty, there's a great term, the patriot. I love what Francis Scott Key said back in, anybody remember, February 22nd, 1812? He said, the patriot who feels himself in the service of God, who acknowledges him in all his ways, has the promise of almighty direction. Don't we need that today? Some almighty direction. And will find his word in his greatest darkness, a what? A lantern to his feet and a lamp unto his paths. He will therefore seek to establish for his country in the eyes of the world such a character as shall make her not unworthy of the name of a what? Christian nation. Francis Scott Key. Anybody know who he is?
Yes.
He wrote a pretty good song, I think, didn't he?
Spangled Banner.
Yes.
Wow.
So I think it was pretty popular back in the day, right? Yeah.
Woo!
February 22nd. So that's this idea of duty defined. And then we think about duty being delivered. And it's one thing to define something, it's another thing to deliver it. And we have the duty also to deliver this truth. Check out these definitions. One is pretty recent, 2004. If you pull up a Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary. Think about that now. Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary, 2004. Here's the definition for patriotism. Love or devotion for one's country. Sounds pretty good, right? Then, of course, if you look up the original Webster's 1828,
Whoa.
you see a whole different definition. Love of one's country. The passion which aims to what? Serve one's country. Either in defending it from what? Invasion. Or protecting its rights and maintaining its laws and institution in vigor and purity. Patriotism is the characteristic of a good citizen. The noblest passion that animates a man in the character of a citizen. Wow. For some, being a patriot is a negative term these days.
Wow.
They try to make it sound negative, but you got to speak against that, don't you?
Amen.
Patriotism. Now, true patriotism is not just it's not just an emotional feeling. There's some who say I'm a patriot, and there's some who wave a flag, but on one side, and then turn around and tear up the Constitution on the other side. There's some who like to stand before the flag for a photo shoot, but look and see how they're voting, what their voting record is on our so-called public servants, right?
Wow.
See what they say and how they act. Because true patriotism is more. It's not just an emotional feeling. True patriotism is an action. Is an action. A call of duty, right? Love for country and a call to duty. True patriotism. And in that definition, look what Noah Webster said. It's what? Service to country. Back in the day, the Founding Fathers weren't in politics as a lifelong career. They temporarily left their farms and their businesses to come and do their duty for a season, for a time, not to become career politicians. To serve their country for a particular time. There's even one great president, John Quincy Adams, that after he was one of the only ones who, after he became president, went back in to serve in Congress.
Wow.
Because he was so adamant about seeing slavery abolished.
Nice.
He spent years wanting to see slavery abolished. So this idea of service to country, think about those you have voted for and those who you are going to vote for in this next election. Are they there to serve country, or are they there to serve themselves?
Right.
Wow.
Are they there for a defense of country? Or what's the opposite of defending our country?
Give it away.
Open borders. Hello. We can talk about that. Yeah. Defense of country versus allowing whatever, whoever, and however just to walk in for the sake of being what? Politically correct, or...
Whoa.
No other country does that. Did they check your papers, Gabe, when you went different places and walked in a different place? Or could you just come and go as you please? I mean, did you have,
Searched my bag a few times.
searched your bags a few times? They want to know who this guy from America is, right? Defense of country. How about this one? Protection of the rights of our country. Being a country of what? Law and order, right? Being a country who upholds and defends our Constitution. Maintenance of those laws and institutions of country. And preservation of religion and morality in public and private life. I love that quote on one of our banners. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. So says, who was that? John
Adams.
Adams said that? Yeah. Think about it. How our Constitution was made. For a moral and religious people. So this kind of patriotism, this kind of call of duty puts the needs of our country above personal and partisan desires. That certainly isn't going on right now, is it? Man, we are split right down the middle. Not only is it putting the needs of country above personal or partisan desires, it's also, as well as above the favor of foreign nations.
Whoa.
We had one president not too long ago do his apology tour.
Good Lord.
We have one president now who's defending our country and giving other countries the what for, right?
Amen.
Telling them to pay their fair share or whatever it is.
Woo.
Big difference. We have gotten to see in our lifetime both sides of what's going on. And when 2020 comes around, that vision, right? Having 2020 vision, we hope and pray that we are able to share the truth with those around us, right?
Amen.
The difference between those sides and giving people good information and good teaching so they can make good choices when they vote. And lastly is this idea of duty demonstrated. Duty demonstrated. So you have this duty, this call of duty for yourselves that we define. You have this duty that we need to deliver. And in this delivering of this duty, we also demonstrate it. You demonstrate duty in your very way of life. It goes back to our spiritual maxim, which says what we do in life echoes in eternity. Think of all the great things the Founding Fathers did. Think of how we continue to look back to their quotes and their writings and their books and their teachings and what they stood for. And how that continually echoes for us so we can clearly hear and apply to our lives. Did you know that on September 17th, as a matter of fact, when we started our Patriot Church was that weekend, there's a federal law in the books that stipulates that every September 17th, public schools are supposed to take time to read and study the Constitution. Did you know that? Public law on our books.
Wow.
September 17th is Constitution Day. 90% of those schools don't do it.
That's right.
The latest statistics tell us. 90% do not do that. So how do we go about doing that? Well, you got to get involved, right? We talked about it in our meeting right Monday night, about getting involved. About getting involved in the school boards, people getting involved. Going in and finding out what's going on. Going in, finding out, doing your homework, right? Studying to show yourself approved, right?
Amen.
Doing our homework so we can take that truth and share it. And maybe some are not doing it out of malice or spite. Maybe some are just downright ignorant about it, right? But either way, we still need to get involved. We need to put it into practice. We need to demonstrate our duty.
Yes.
And in demonstrating our duty, here's some things we should not do. First of all, you should not give up, right? Amen? Do not give up.
That's right.
The other side that's coming against you wants you to give up.
That's right.
Yep.
They want to wear you down. They want to continue to spread propaganda, distorted truth, and wear you out so you just throw your hands up and say, hey, what I do doesn't really matter. And that's the farthest thing from the truth.
Right.
Don't give up, don't check out. And also, we don't have to get involved with what some on the other side are talking about. We don't have to use violence and intimidation like that's been used.
Amen.
How we've had our public servants publicly proclaimed to get in the face of people, to go into their businesses and cause disruption and all that. That should come from a public servant, elected official? Absolutely not. Call to duty. Duty demonstrated. A duty to do. So what could we do? Well, first thing we need to do is what? We need to vote. We need to remember that our vote really matters.
Yes.
I can remember times where I felt like, man, I'm voting for something and nothing happened and nothing changed, but my vote still matters. Because we still have this thing we call the Electoral College, which is really, really important. If you look at Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, you'll see a word. And it's this word chosen. It's the first place in the Constitution a citizen is given a responsibility. And your responsibility is to choose your elected officials.
Yes.
You have the duty and the power to choose. And we remember not too long ago an election back in 2000 where this guy named Hanging Chad was hanging around. And that presidential election was determined in the state of Florida by 537 votes.
Whoa.
And I think about this past election where I noticed that not all of our conservative value folks were chosen. But then I went and I looked to see who voted for who, and some may have voted higher up on the ticket, and some didn't vote lower on the ticket. So they might have casted a vote for a few people, but they didn't cast a vote for all of those who held the same values. And because they didn't vote, others got picked in their place. I'm thinking of our Attorney General, I think, right, for Florida? Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
What in the world? That's going to cause some problems. Could cause problems. Could. So this idea of checking out, or this idea of giving up, don't give up, because your vote really does matter. It's the power that the Founding Fathers gave to us to remind those. If you don't like what's going on in your district or your area, then you need to vote them out. Do your homework, see what they stand for, see how they voted, and make it known, and cast your vote. Here's another great quote by Noah Webster. He said, "Let it be impressed on your mind that God commands you to choose for rulers just men and women who will rule in the fear of God." If the citizens neglect their duty and place unprincipled men or women in office, the government will soon be what? Corrupted. Hello. Has that word of prophecy ever rang truer than right now?
Wow.
Noah Webster. If our government fails to secure public prosperity and happiness, it must be because the citizens neglect the divine commands.
That's right.
And elect bad men or women to make and administer the laws. Wow. We can change that.
That's right.
We have the power to change that.
Amen.
A couple quotes from our Constitutional Life series. The right to choose our leaders is something most people in history of the world never get to do. You never get to do it in other countries, a lot of countries. You have dictatorship, you have a king or a queen, you don't get to choose. We get to choose. A politician is only thinking about the next election. But a patriot is concerned about the next generation.
Amen.
That's a good bumper sticker right there.
Yeah.
Herb, you gotta make that one up, right? That's gonna be a good one.
Exactly.
Politician is only
Wow.
concerned, is only thinking about the next election, but a true patriot is concerned about the next generation. These guys here, right? This is why we do this school, right? This is why we have them. This is why we're fighting for this. This is why we want the Constitution to come alive, because it's for my kids and my grandkids.
That's right.
That's why we fight. That's why we're doing it. Wow.
That's what you call your duty.
Yeah, that is the duty, right? So they got this duty that's demonstrated, this duty to do, and then this duty to influence. Part of that is influence. Section 4, I'm sorry, see Article 4, Section 4. So let me look that one up real quick. I got my little Constitution book here. Look what this says here. Article 4,
Section 4.
Yeah, Article 4, Section 4. Here's what it says. Article 4, 4, Section 4. In the Constitution, ready? I'm reading with the easy language versus the original language. The United States will guarantee a Republican form of government to every state in this union and will protect each of them from invasion.
Wow.
They will also be protected from domestic violence if the legislature of a state requests it. If the legislature cannot be convened, the governor of that state may request it. This idea of being a Republican form of government, a constitutional republic,
That's right.
is a big difference.
Yes.
So we need to be able to influence and educate people on how we are a republic and not a pure democracy.
That's right.
A simple democracy is one of the greatest of evils. A democracy is a mobocracy, so says Benjamin Rush,
Yes.
great founding father, signer of the Declaration of Independence. John Witherspoon, another signer of the Declaration of Independence, said this: pure democracy cannot, exist long, nor be carried far into the departments of state. It is very subject to caprice and the madness of popular rage. Isn't that the push now?
Whoa.
To go to this popular vote versus the electoral college.
Stop it.
John Adams. Remember, democracy never lasts long. It soon wastes, exhausts, and murders itself. There never was a democracy yet that did not commit suicide.
Yes. Amen.
Pure democracy. And here's some words from Reverend Matthias Burnett. In one of his sermons, he preached this. He said, "Finally, ye whose power it is to save or destroy your country, consider well the important trust which God has put into your hands. To God in posterity, you are accountable for them. Let not your children have reason to curse you for giving up those rights and prostrating those institutions which your fathers delivered to you." Wow. Those are some very interesting words, I think.
Yes.
That's why we do this. That's why we want to teach and educate and see our Constitution held strong and upheld.
Woo.
And take English class again. Yeah.
Amen.
So, I was thinking about, and I thought, man, let me share a little bit more about that electoral college, because they talk a little bit more in our study about that rule, about that popular vote. So think about this idea. Have an electoral college, this republic, this constitutional republic, versus mob rule or a pure democracy. Let me give you some thoughts that aren't on your notes this morning. We got some extra time this morning, a couple minutes. The electoral college is a way for the people to have a voice, and the states to have a voice in the election of the president. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes.
See, if we just had the popular vote, then what would happen?
Mob rule.
The main amount of votes that came from one particular section, New York City, West
Los
Coast, California,
Angeles.
they would be able to choose your president. And everybody in between wouldn't have a say.
That's right.
That's why the Founding Fathers were so ingenious about this. Founders rejected the idea having the president elected by popular vote because the most populated areas would outvote the more rural areas.
That's right.
Founding Fathers used the Electoral College to strike a balance that would require the winner to have a sufficient vote of the people and a sufficient distribution of the vote. And in a popular vote scenario, the major deciders for the presidency would be what? The big cities.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew this back then in the 1700s. Look what they said about this. Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter to Benjamin Rush. He said this: I view great cities as pestilential to the morals, the health, and the liberties of man.
Yeah.
Right.
That's President Thomas Jefferson saying that.
Yeah.
That's how he viewed the great city.
Woo!
And Benjamin Rush wrote back to him and said the same. I agree with you in your opinions of cities. He said, Cowper the poet very happily expresses our ideas of them compared with the country. Quote, God made the country, man made the cities.
Wow.
That's right.
Wow.
God made the country, man made cities. That's pretty funny. I consider them in the same light that I do abscesses on the human body as reservoirs of all the impurities of a community.
Wow. It's heavy. Heavy.
Huh. I guess we know why the cities are like they are today.
Wow.
We're not going to New York.
Things haven't changed much
Woo!
in a few hundred years, have they?
Uh-uh.
Wow.
Not a bit.
So, supporters of the national popular vote, which is a term that's come up again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want pure democracy
Yep.
rather than a constitutional republic.
That's right.
But you understand that there's no way, shape, or form that could happen unless we had some kind of constitutional amendment on the Constitution.
That's right.
Because I read to you what? Article 4, Section 4,
Yes.
which says, we are bound to this republic. Pure democracy, says this signer. I don't know if I read this. Oh, I read that one to you already. Pure democracy cannot subsist any longer, nor be carried far into the department of the state. It is very subject to caprice and the madness of popular rage. Wow. So what are our marching orders? Well, we have some marching orders. And part of that is to read the Constitution.
Yeah.
I love that great quote by, who was that? Clarence Thomas that we read in class. Talked about the Constitution is no more difficult to read than a cell phone contract.
Oh, yeah.
So some think the Constitution is out of their league to read. It's not. It's not. And even with our new books, The Constitution Alive, we have the Constitution Made Easy translation also of the Constitution, which helps. So read the Constitution. Study the Constitution. Your call of duty. Teach the Constitution.
Yes.
Read, study, teach. Know. If when you read and study and teach, then you will what? You will know your constitutional rights. Some people tell you things that aren't constitutionally true.
That's right.
That's right.
They tell you can and can't do certain things. But unless we know what the Constitution says, they will deceive us. And one of my favorite hashtags, hashtag do not be deceived.
Woo!
Know your constitutional rights, defend your constitutional rights, and assert your constitutional rights. Read, study, teach. Know, defend, and assert. Now look at this great quote, John Quincy Adams. He says this: duty is ours, results are God's. Duty is ours, results are God's. What we do in life echoes in eternity. Got any patriots here this morning?
Yes.
Here at Patriot Church, are you willing and ready to accept your call of duty?
Yes.
To go out into the highways and the byways and in your workplace, to teach, to study, to know, to defend, and assert our constitutional rights.
Nice.
Know what it says. Because in these last days, as old Paul told Timothy, perilous times will come. Men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good,
Wow.
traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying its power. And from such people turn away.
Yeah.
But you, we will preach the word, preach the Constitution, teach the Constitution. We'll be ready in season and out of season. We'll be ready to convince, rebuke, exhort, with all long suffering
Thank you,
and
Lord.
all teaching. Call of duty. It's yours to accept. Because what we do in this life will echo forever and eternity. Amen.
Amen.
Lord Jesus, thank you for your help today. Thank you for your love and your grace and your mercy. And I am so thankful that every time I read and look at a quote and read a writing of the Founding Fathers, I see you.
Yeah.
I see your words. I see the influence
Praise
in
you,
our
Lord.
laws. I see the influence in the writings. I see the influence in our presidents that have proclaimed your name and have stood in your truth.
Yes.
And I pray, oh God, that that would continue in our days.
Yes.
That we would no longer feel like we have no choice or have no vote or have no voice. But you, by your power, by your grace, and by your mercy, you, as we've sung about, you can heal our land. You can break those chains
Jesus.
that try to bind us. You can shed true light on the darkness, on the propaganda that is spoken about, especially toward this poor millennial generation, oh God, who embraces socialism. Why? They obviously have not been told the truth about it. Free cannot. There's nothing free like that. There's no such thing. Somebody's paying for it. So we pray, oh God, that you would empower us and strengthen us. And burn in our hearts like you burned the hearts in the hearts of our founding fathers. Those great patriots of the past. So again, that we can continue to move forward on the foundation of the truth of your word, the foundation of our Declaration and our Constitution. That we can truly be lovers of you. So thank you again for the opportunity we have to do what we do, to accept this call of duty. We love you, Jesus. In your name we pray. Amen.